Hi, welcome and thank you for watching this back to school night video on AP Calculus. My name is John Quigley. I joined the Holy Child Math Department in 2006, so I've been here quite a long time now. Previously, I taught math and physics in Ireland for more than a decade. I graduated from Trinity College in Dublin in 1993 with a Bachelor of Science degree in mathematics and physics. I then went to Northern Ireland, where I studied for a Master's in Computing and Information Systems, and returned to Dublin to study for my teaching qualification in Ireland. That's the HDIP, Higher Diploma. To talk a little bit about this course, what we're going to do in this course, there are three main sections to calculus at any level. Certainly at this level, there are three main areas that we need to study in depth. There's limits of a function, which the girls have actually completed or are about to complete this week. Then a major part of the course is going to be differentiation. That's actually going to take us through from the beginning of October right through probably up until Christmas time, maybe even into January. The last major part of the course is integration. And once we have completed integration, we will then be studying for the exam. There's a very strong focus on the exam in the fourth quarter. Basically, all we will be doing at that point is we'll be putting together a review portfolio, doing lots and lots of previously published mathematic exam questions on maths and calculus. In terms of how I run my class, this year's very different, and I'm getting used to it just like everybody else. It's even a lot different from the springtime, because I suppose the main difference this year is I don't know the students. The students don't know me. I know them to meet them in the corridor. I know them by reputation, but I haven't taught any of these girls before. So there's a learning curve which is steeper than normal because we're trying to get to know one another's ways and how we generally comport ourselves. As far as remote learning goes, when I'm teaching, I expect the students to stay on the call for the duration of the class, but I encourage the students to interrupt and ask questions. You'll know, I'm sure, that the technology we're using, the Microsoft Teams package, has a raise hand feature, but I tend to be very busy, so I'm not always looking at that particular screen, so I just tell the girls interrupt, and so far it seems to be going very well. If students need to meet with me because there's something they don't understand, something they want clarification on, or just a homework question they want to discuss, then the best way right now is to email me and to make an appointment. When we're all back in school together, and I'm in school all the time, that won't be the case, but right now the easiest way to make sure that you'll get me is to email me with and request an appointment. The big thing I would say when we're learning remotely is communication. Communication is key, and it's got to be a two-way thing. Students have got to take a little bit more responsibility for themselves than they did previously, and they have to reach out and instigate that, because the teacher is going to have less knowledge and less feel for how the students are getting on, and therefore we're dependent as teachers a lot more than we have been in the past on students reaching out to us and letting us know where they're struggling. When students are in school, the only thing I've ever asked of students is that they come with a willingness to learn. I don't expect everybody to be really pumped with adrenaline every single day in calculus, but I want them to be ready to learn, willing to learn. And generally speaking, when somebody reaches this level of math that all of your daughters are at, they really are. They are interested, and they want to do their best. It's a genuine love of learning, a genuine curiosity, and a genuine desire to push themselves. And if you bring those three things, which is inherent in most of the students in this course every year, then you're doing everything that I could ask of you. Obviously, part of that is being prepared. Bring your device, bring your calculator with you every day. It's not usually something that would concern us at this level of math. Again, almost like the communication thing, but I suppose when you're in situ, it's slightly different. It's going to be important for the students to instigate meetings with their teachers. And do it especially when you have small difficulties. Don't wait on things to blow up and become a real serious issue where you feel lost, overburdened, overwhelmed. That is not a good practice for this level of mathematics. You want to, at this level of mathematics, pay attention to the small details. I know in education generally, there's a lot of talk about enabling students to see the big picture, what's important in the worldly scheme of things, but within the context of this particular course, it's very important to pay attention to the details. And therefore, if we're doing a problem and there's a small thing that you don't understand, very important to come and get that ironed out as quickly as you can. Excuse me. In terms of instruction and assessment, all of my notes are published on OneNote. I rarely ever use a textbook. In fact, I keep the textbooks in school, and if the students want to use them as a reference, that's really the only way in which I use textbooks. I've written up all my notes now for many years. They're now published on OneNote. Students can, print them out before class begins. If they want to do that, and if they prefer to work on paper, just print out the notes, put them in a binder, and write on the paper, write on the printed notes. I use class time for explaining the concepts that we're looking at, explaining the topics, for clarification when things become difficult or obscure. Very importantly, for working through examples. The notes are there in advance, but I don't work through the examples in advance. I work through the examples in class. And then equally as important, I like to give, as often as possible, I like to set some time aside for practice for the students as well in class. And a lot of practice is going to be done at home, but I do like as much as possible to get that started in class on a daily basis. Assessment, as you probably heard if you've seen any of the other Back to School Night videos and you've been following the communication from the schools, assessment this year is going to look a little bit different. It's going to have different language associated with it, but I like to try and tie it back to what people are used to. So there are 3 new categories: engagement, formative assessment, and summative assessment. Engagement is going to be done by means of a rubric, and it's going to measure things like, are students wearing uniform properly? Are they turning in assessments on time? Are they turning up for class on time? Things that, to be perfectly honest, at this level you need to take for granted. If you're in AP Calculus, those are things that just I'm not particularly looking for, but obviously we have to be aware of them. More importantly, it's important to keep up to date with the daily homework, and there will be homework almost every day in AP Calculus. If there's not homework, there'll certainly be study. Formative assessment in this class is going to be traditional quizzes, and summative assessment in this class is going to be tests. Now, there's something also called authentic assessments, which have been brought in this year. In AP Calculus, we may not have time to do much of that. The focus in AP Calculus is on the external exam, is on preparing students for the external exam, and everything else kind of takes a backseat to that, other than the students' understanding and their own education. But in terms of assessment, the goal is to do well in the exam. Every time we get a test, and it's hoped that there'll be 2 tests a quarter. I'm not sure if the start that we've had with this hybrid learning, the remote learning, and then the hybrid learning will impact on that somehow, but generally I've tried to get 2 tests in every quarter. When we're given a test, a major test, there will be a practice test and a key published up to 1 week in advance. Usually the practice test comes out a week in advance. The key comes out a few days later when students have had a chance to practice the test themselves, and it is really important that they do practice. Course is a very fast-paced course. It leads to an exam in early May. It's equivalent to 1 semester of calculus in college. The surest way to be successful, if you want to know that, then for me it's always been that students would redo all the problems they do not initially get right. You try and do a problem at home, you try and do a problem in class, you can't get the answer. You ask your teacher, you watch the teacher do it, you listen to the teacher do it, and then you go back home and you do it line by line, and don't leave it until you can complete it. Okay, it's a little bit tedious, it's time consuming, but it is the best way to be successful. To meet me, the blocks that I'm free are A, C, G, and H. Happy to meet by a Teams call, happy to meet in person. Certainly the best thing to do is to email me at jquigley@holychild.org. If you get in touch with me there, we'll set up an appointment at our convenience, and more than happy to meet parents and students. And hopefully, to be perfectly honest with you, hopefully I'm meeting students in this class regularly. I do want them coming to me. Inevitably, the students who do best every year are those who seek out the teacher in this class and who come in for extra help. It shows that students are working on their own. The fact that they know they're struggling shows that they're working on their own. When they come for help, they've already got the basics done. They've already thought about what they're doing. So please encourage your daughters to come see me for help at any time they express any disquiet at all. Okay, if anybody has any other questions, just do get on to me in that email. And thank you very much for watching. And I hope this was informative. And I'm happy to get back to you if you have any other requests. Thank you.